Welcome, everybody, to the Friar Talk podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping the Giants series. We're going to be talking about the Padres bullpen. We're going to be doing a preview for the Rangers, and we're also going to talk about the Trent Grisham and Pierce Johnson return, which we're hoping is soon. But let's just start out with the Giants recap. I think this series was really ugly, not only in terms of hitting, but also fielding. We saw a lot of costly errors. We saw Jorge Mateo assist the home run, which you never want to see that on a professional baseball field. But overall, I think it was just one of those series. It resembled last year early on when we saw the Padres start out and they looked kind of good and then they looked sloppy for a little bit and then they kind of snapped out of it and got really hot. It honestly looks really similar to that to me. But I think the big story of this whole series was there was not much offense going around. And I'll let you start, Isaac. Why do you think there's no offense going around? What do you think is the issues there?
Well, the issue really hasn't been getting on, in my opinion. It's just been timely hitting. They haven't been able to get runners in when the opportunity presents itself. So, there's instances where we see like runners on second and third and no one's able to bring them in. Or yesterday, extra innings, you automatically get a runner on second. That run, especially with the Padres, like the offense of the Padres that they do have and the players that we have, that run should be like easy. No outs, runner on second. It should be easy to bring in that run. But just timely hitting, not being able to hit in big situations is what's killing the Padres right now. And we were a Victor Caratini bomb away from getting swept by the Giants, So it's definitely tough to see our offense struggle right now. Hopefully Texas is a huge bounce back for us. But, the Giants aren't exactly a great competition either, so.
Yeah, man. Timely hitting is something that the Padres struggled with last year a little bit. We kind of noticed that, hey, they kind of rely a lot on the long ball. We kind of need to see them with Tatis gone, start hitting those gap shots because that's how we're really going to rally around this team. It's not everybody's meant to hit home runs, as we can see with Warning Track Power Fam playing in the outfield and, Mateo and we have very few guys that, will consistently hit it out of the park without, just flying out to the warning track. So we need to focus on gap to gap hitting. And I want to say part of it is partially just being unlucky. We've had a lot of guys have some like ropes that have just been hit straight to people. Like Campusano has had a couple of hit balls that are over 100 miles an hour. I mean, Darvish some that are over 100 miles an hour and then just go straight to people. So you can count that to bad luck, but that's really it. We're focused too much on trying to hit home runs other than bringing a person in.
Yeah, I like that you guys brought up like the timely hitting aspect of it, because if you just go down the list, there's a lot of guys that are playing really well right now in terms of batting average and actually like, getting hits and stuff. Because let's just go through a couple guys. Cronenworth, he's at 320. Myers, 318. Hosmer, 391. Profar, 294. Mateo, 308. Like you have a lot of guys putting up good averages. Now, there's a couple players struggling. Machado's struggling. He's hitting 200. You brought up Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham, it seems like every single time he's come up, he's hit a ball to the warning track. So that might just be the aspect of playing in San Diego. But the timely hitting is not there. You brought up Campusano, who's honestly just been ripping hits right to guys every time. And yesterday we saw him, I want to say it was the 7th inning when he came in, and there was 2 guys on. I know Hosmer and Machado were on, and he hit one down the line, and it was like 2 feet from being fair and turning the game into a 3-2 game, which the Padres probably ended up would have won that game if that's the case. So I think a lot of the hitting is just is really just being unlucky. But I think the reason it's so frustrating is because we saw a lot of really good pitching performances against the Giants. And I think we saw Blake Snell come in. He did allow the 2-run shot. I mean, we talked about that already. A little bit of a weird situation there. We saw Darvish look great. And we also saw Morejon come in and he allowed 2 solo shots, but two solo shots, like that's not like terrible, like he's still doing all right. And the bullpen has looked really good. So I think that's where it becomes frustrating is like when your pitching is doing so well and you're losing a game 3-2 and you're not putting up runs and you haven't put up runs. And I think, of course, the big reason why I think they haven't put up runs is because, I mean, their main dude's out. Fernando Tatis is out right now, and that's going to be a struggle. And when he's out and Machado's not on, it becomes really difficult for this lineup to get going because they kind of rally around these guys. there's a lot of young players in the lineup right now that don't have that much experience. Compensano, you have Mateo, he started yesterday. You have Cronenworth, who he's playing well, but like he hasn't had that much experience in the bigs. Ha-seong Kim is being asked to play a starting role, and that's a lot. We already talked about him potentially starting the year in the minor leagues just to kind of adjust to the speed of the game. And I'll say this, I think Ha-seong Kim he's looked a little bit frustrated, but overall I've liked what I've seen from him just because it's taking him a second, but you could tell like he really wants to succeed. He's getting frustrated up there. I thought when he came up in the 10th and he had the 2 bunts that went foul, it was like, oh no, this has the chance to be a terrible at bat. He ends up grounding out to first, and he's out by a step. Like he's playing super hard. So I want to say, like, I think he's going to turn around. I think he's going to be a good big leaguer. I really do. But it's just a lot of guys right now are being put in situations where they're being asked to do so much more than they have before. And that's just because of injuries, I think. So I think that it's just a little bit frustrating watching this kind of go down when there's so many guys that are hurt. And it just gets frustrating when the pitching's looking so great because you're like, we're having half the game that's just, I mean, the Padres pitchers have looked fantastic. And so it gets tough when you're not putting runs on the board. But is that kind of where your guys' frustrations are too? Just because it's losing a 3-2 game has got to be one of the most frustrating things just because it's like, look, the pitching is there. Like half of the game is there, and you just got to deliver and you got to drive these guys in. And it really just seems like a lot of it is being unlucky right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely frustrating, especially because Blake Snell was a ball off the glove away from a 0-run outing, another 0-run outing. But the Padres, even without Fernando in the lineup, have that kind of lineup where they should be putting up 3 runs, no problem. And credit to Gausman, I think his name was Gausman. He pitched a really good game yesterday, but no reason the Padres shouldn't be putting up 3-4 runs routinely, especially with the type of lineup we have. And that's all, related back to timely hitting. They're not able to do it right now. Like I mentioned, Texas is a great bounce back opportunity, but it is very frustrating when, our top 2 guys aren't getting the wins because the Padres aren't putting up the runs that they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, we sort of started Slam Diego last year in Texas, so hopefully we can start that back up, get the wheels rolling, get some offense going, and I completely expect, a turnaround from Paddock this upcoming series, and Musgrove, I'm pretty confident Musgrove throwing another like 6 innings, maybe 1 or 2 earned runs. And then I'm hoping Mortejon goes, 5-6 innings, shows what he really can do. He got kind of unfortunate in the Giants series because he wasn't allowed to go in the 5th inning because of the bases loaded situation. And since we don't have a DH, do you want Mortejon hitting or do you want to put a pinch runner in and hope you can get a couple runs? So he got pulled a little early, but I think he can go a solid 5-6 inning system this upcoming series.
Yeah, no, and for this Giants series, I don't think it's anything that we should be looking into too much. Like, oh, look, this is the Padres team. Like, they're going to struggle to hit. I don't think that's how it is at all. I think it's a mixture of being a little just hitting hard balls to guys. And that's just kind of how baseball is. Like, you're going to lose a lot of games over the course of a season. Elite teams still lose 40% of their games. Like, that's just what happens. Like, it's such a different sport, I think, than when you watch football or basketball and you have teams just like winning day in and day out. And in football, you see teams win so many games. So I think that's something where baseball, it's just you have to have a much more patient approach. And I think that we're going to see guys like Will Myers and stuff. They've been there. They've been in some weird spots. Machado's been there when his team has been struggling. Like, these guys are used to it. I don't think it's any reason to be worried, but we got to see the offense turn around. I really hope that we do see that in Texas. But that's kind of all for the Giants recap. Overall, it's just the pitching looked fantastic. The pitching looked really, really good, which it should against the Giants lineup, which is nothing super impressive. But the offense there's not that much situational hitting going around. So that's got to improve.